The O'Reilly Factor's on tonight.
Even the guy that wrote the book had to admit under questioning that he didn't have a shred of evidence. He just sort of thought he'd throw it out there and see if it'd fly. It won't fly.
Yet the controversies over the Clinton Foundation keep on coming. Today, Mr. Clinton is in Morocco at an event sponsored by an alleged human rights violator. And the Kennedys are involved. We'll have a Factor investigation. Shades of the 60s, students at the University of California, Berkeley trying to strong-arm other students into not attending classes. Gutfeld McGurk on that.
What would you like written on your tombstone?
Also tonight, did you know that your humble correspondent, me, has a pretty wild work resume?
Oh, yeah!
Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. How emotion can damage America. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The debate continues to rage over whether an anti-Muslim group was justified in insulting every Muslim on the planet. As you may know, 2 jihadis were killed by a brave police officer in Garland, Texas on Sunday after they tried to storm a conference held by the American Freedom Defense Initiative. The dead men deserved what they got. But the incident was ignited by a contest featuring cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. Any depiction of that Islamic icon is a sin in the Muslim world. Many Americans believe the provocation was legitimate under freedom of speech, but that is not the issue. No one I know favors curtailing speech in this case. The real issue is whether the exposition was the right thing to do.
First of all, as a Christian, I don't like it when people mock my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And what this event in Garland, Texas was doing was mocking the Muslims. I'm discouraged that people would do this. We live in a society now where there's no civility, there's no respect. We don't honor people who have differences. We only attack each other. And so I agree that the folks in Garland, Texas were wrong.
Reverend Graham reflects the Christian point of view that you don't demean other people unnecessarily. Jesus would not have sponsored that event. Now, I have to say my respect for Franklin Graham is growing. I wish the Catholic Church in America had a leader like him. But Talking Points sees the issue from another perspective. The goal of every decent person in the world should be to defeat the jihad. And in order to do that, you have to rally the world to the side of good, our side. Emotional displays like insulting the Prophet Muhammad make it more difficult to rally law-abiding Muslims, for example, including nations like Jordan and Egypt, who are actually fighting the fanatical Islamists. In any war, you have to win hearts and minds, and the situation in Garland, Texas, goes against that. Again, the freedom of speech issue is bogus. No one is saying the exposition was illegal. The point is winning, defeating the jihad. We have a BillO'Reilly.com poll question that asks, do you support the group American Freedom Defense Initiative mocking the Islamic religion, yes or no? We hope you vote, and if you do, please consider walking away from emotion. This whole emotional deal can be applied to the Republican Party as well. President Obama achieved power because some Americans decided not to vote, believing the Republican candidates, McCain and Romney, were not conservative enough. So, now we have a nation that has been battered over the past 6 years. It might have happened if the Republicans won. That's certainly possible. But voting or not voting out of emotion, never a good idea. The best problem solver should always win, and no candidate is perfect. There comes a time when all of us have to make a decision, whether we'll do what's best for the country or wallow in shallow emotion. Important decision. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, a very troubling situation, this one involving the Democratic Party. Former President Bill Clinton in Morocco today at a Clinton Global Initiative event. A company at the conference, a mining concern called OCP, is paying $1 million to the Clinton organization to host a cocktail party, among other things. One big problem. The Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice, a human rights organization, has criticized OCP for, quote, serious human rights violations, unquote. The company allegedly exploits poor people in the Sahara Desert. Full disclosure, I donate money to the RFK Foundation, a lot of money, because I believe in the cause of human rights around the world. The leader of the RFK group is Kerry Kennedy, RFK's daughter. I talked with Miss Kennedy on the phone today. She agreed to come on The Factor, then canceled at the last minute. Obviously very troubling. And it looks like politics is trumping doing the right thing, as the Kennedys and the Clintons are Democratic stalwarts. I do not believe this deal would sit well with the late Robert Kennedy. With us now, James Grimaldi, Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter for the Wall Street Journal, who is following the situation. First, tell us about this mining company.
Okay, OCP, there are two issues, not just one with OCP. It's owned by the Moroccan government. This is the equivalent of more foreign money going to the Clinton Foundation. Second, the issue is where they are mining, which is in the Western Sahara. Out there, they're indigenous people who feel they're not being properly compensated.
Bedouins, right?
Right, in disputed territories.
Right.
And they're out there mining for phosphate materials that they're then benefiting the company OCP. There's a real question about compensation.
All right. So the RFK Foundation labels them a human rights violator, the company OCP, because they aren't taking care of the poor people in the area of the mining, correct?
That's right.
All right. Were you surprised that the foundation, RFK Foundation, wouldn't come on and explain what you just explained?
Well, they took your call, and she actually returned your call, which is interesting. It shows the ambivalence I think a lot of liberals and Democrats have with the Clinton candidacy. I think on the one hand, they believe that accepting this foreign money and from questionable groups is problematic. On the other hand, they want to support probably their nominee.
So I believe that politics is trumping human rights here, because if you have a company that is abusing poor people in the desert who have nobody looking out for them, and that company is now shishiing it up today with Bill Clinton at a cocktail party, and they gave him $1 million to have their name associated with it. I mean, it just seems to me that nobody's doing the right thing here.
Well, I think the other side you'd hear probably from the Clinton Foundation is that money is supposed to go to their good works in Africa to help the poor people and to provide medical services.
So you dine with the devil to get the devil's money, and then you do good with the devil's money.
Well, those are your words. You're the commentator. I'm the news guy, and
right.
I think your facts are right. I'll let the opinion stand on its own.
What about the Clinton Initiative? Most people don't know what it does. What does it do?
Well, the biggest thing they do actually is provide various health services. They buy drugs that can be expensive for HIV and AIDS, and they distribute it. Africa is one of the big places. They do training as well with expectant mothers and new mothers. They do anti-malarial drugs, and they also have programs to help the poor raise themselves up and out of poverty.
Okay. I have called for the FBI to take a look at the Clinton Foundation. Just to because I don't think journalists can get the big story, you know, one way or the other. And if I said this, if I were the Clintons, I would say, we want an investigation. Clear us, all right? Because we are doing the Lord's work, or whatever they're going to say about it. Would you support an FBI investigation? Is there enough there?
Well, I never make that decision. I had an editor once never predict your outcome of your stories. I've had FBI investigations from stories that I've written that have involved money that went to lawmakers and political favors, the Jack Abramoff scandal. And, you know, sometimes you can look into it and find nothing. And
that's right.
Sometimes
but is there enough here for the Federal Bureau of Investigation to take a look?
That would be a decision for a U.S. attorney.
In your opinion, as a journalist who has covered stories of this ilk, is there enough here?
Enough here for a criminal investigation or probable cause?
Just take a look. The FBI assemble some facts.
I've written many of these stories. If any federal agency decided to look into it, I would write about it.
Okay, but you're not going to give an opinion on whether you think that there's enough here, enough out there, that it should spur an investigation?
No, I'm not going to do that. That's a trouble line for me to cross on an opinion.
All right.
But I'm happy to listen to anyone else who has an opinion about it.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate that, Mr. Grimaldi. Next on the rundown, former federal prosecutor, the man who put Sheikh Rahman in prison, says he will say the Clinton Foundation must be investigated by the FBI. Then later, chaos at the University of California, Gutfeld and McGurk, all over that. Factor is coming right back.